the likelihood of you closing the sale after 48 hours decreases significantly. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. I am your host, Michael Weaver. I am flying solo today because today we have got a buzz beat for you. I've got a question for you. Are you tired of missing life insurance sales? Are you tired of hearing, I need to think about it? And guess what? The customer never answers their phone. They ghost you. Are you tired of not being confident in being able to come back with something to overcome that objection and ask for the sell one more time? If you are, this episode is for you because that's what we're talking about. So I've been asked this multiple times. To cover this topic. And so that's why we're doing it. We're right in the middle of creating a brand new website for Weaver Sales Academy members. We've got brand new scripts coming out. And so this is all fresh on my mind. I am super excited. All right. So let's get right into this. So first of all, the most common objections you're going to hear when talking to customers about life insurance, when you get to the end of the conversation, and look, you have the most noble profession of the world. Before I get into life insurance objections, you are the person, you are the individual that has the ability to change a family's legacy, to make sure that if the worst case situation happens, that the family is taken care of financially, that they have a plan, that they're not going to be burdened by debt, that they're not going to have to start a GoFundMe account. That when something does happen, they have the time to process everything emotionally without struggling financially. And you have a moral obligation to have a life insurance conversation with every single person every single time. And before we start to overcome the life insurance objections, I just want to reiterate here that the conversation leading up to the close, to actually asking for money, to actually getting an application started is the most important part. You can have any closing technique in the world, and if you have a terrible upfront conversation, it's not going to matter. So make sure that you're taking the time to actually bringing it up to the customer, asking the customer disturbing complacency questions, getting them emotionally involved in the conversation, like actually figuring out where their pain point is. What are they missing? What is the gap? So that you, the insurance professional, can provide a plan for them that solves their true problem. Okay? I'm going to leave it with that. So let's get into this now, the life insurance objections. So the most common objections you're going to hear, I need to think about it. You ever heard I need to think about it? I need to think about it. I need to talk to my spouse. You know, that's a little bit more than I was hoping for. You ever heard any of those three objections? These are the three objections I believe, at least in my experience, that you're going to hear most often when you get to the end of a conversation and it's time to fill out the application. It's time to ask for money. These are the objections you hear. Can you email that over? Okay. So let's look at these real fast. Let's dive in. So the next time you hear, let's just go. Hey, I need to think about it. The next time you hear, I need to think about it, respond with, hey, I'm with you. Tell me, what is it specifically that you are unsure of and need to think about? Because if someone needs to think about it, that means that they don't have enough information to make a buying decision. Or they do. Or they're like 99.9% of people and they already know whether it's a yes or a no. It's just, if it's a yes, they're afraid of having buyer's remorse. And if it's a no, they don't want to hurt their feelings, hurt your feelings. So, hey, I'm with you. Tell me, what is it specifically that you have a question about and need to think about? Okay, so specifically, another way, okay, another one. This is one of my personal favorites. Customer says, hey, I need to think about it. Hey, I'm with you. I actually need to think about it as well. We as a company have to think about it. And the first step is to completing the application to see if you can even qualify. Let's just go ahead and get this step done. I just need to start with the legal spelling of your first and last name. That's one of my favorites. Hey, I need to think about it. We need to think about it too. And the first step is to completing the application to make sure that you're even eligible and can qualify for this plan. Let's just go ahead and get this step done. I just need to start with the legal spelling of your first and last name. All right. So there you go. There's two really great ways to overcome. I need to think about it. Okay. I need to talk to my spouse. I need to talk to my spouse. How many times have you heard that? How many times have you heard that? A ton. Okay. So here we go. I need to talk to my spouse. Hey, I'm with you. Let me ask you real fast. Do you think they will say no? Do you think they will say no? Do you think your spouse will say no? The customer 99.9% of the time is going to respond with, well, no, I don't think so. Great. Let's just get the application completed. And if they do say no, you give me a call tomorrow and we'll act like this never happened. Let's just start with the legal spelling of your first and last name. So you're going to catch a trend here. I'm going to ask for, let's start with the legal spelling of your first and last name because that's the information you need for the application. I'm automatically going to overcome the objection and assume the application. You could also say, hey, here we go. I get it. Let me ask you real fast. Do you think your spouse will say no? When they say no, great. Let's just go ahead and get the application completed. And if for some reason they do say no, you give me a call tomorrow. We'll act like this never happened. Are you paying with a Visa, MasterCard, or American Express today? So you can ask for payment information as well. I always like to just go ahead and go into the application. You're assuming the application. You're assuming the sale. All right. So the next time I need to talk to my spouse, you hear that, respond with that. Also, here you go. You could do the 1 to 10 close. So in an way earlier episode, I covered some of my favorite closing techniques, and the 1 to 10 close is one of my favorites. So when someone says, I need to talk to my spouse, hey, I'm with you. Real fast though, Mr. or Mrs. Customer. On a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being that you aren't interested at all in what we discussed today, and 10 being if your spouse was here and on board, you'd be getting it started today. Where are you at on that scale? Most customers are going to respond with a 7, 8, or 9, and you simply respond with, great. I'm so glad that we're on the same page. That's a really high score. Let's just go ahead and get this going today so that your family's protected. What's the legal spelling of your first and last name for the application? Like really, really easy. And to respond, okay, to go ahead and answer the question that you may have, well, what happens if they respond with a 6 or lower? Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, that score's a lot lower than what I was hoping for. Let me just ask you real fast. What is it that you were hoping for or expecting that I'm not able to provide you today, or I'm not providing you with the plan that we discussed? Okay. Because you're trying to get back to a 10. So you're trying to figure out why the score is low. So that's really, really good information there. So the next time you hear, I need to talk to my spouse, you're ready. Use these. Okay. That's more expensive. Michael, that's more expensive than what I was hoping for. Hey, I'm with you. How much were you hoping for? See what I did there? Hey, I'm with you. How much were you hoping for? How much were you expecting? That's a really great question. Another one. This is my personal favorite. Man, that's a lot more expensive than what I was hoping for, Michael. Hey, I'm with you, and it could be more expensive for what we talked about. So let's just go ahead and get this application going. You want to start with the legal spelling of your first and last name. Hey, I understand it could be more though. Let's just go ahead and get this going. I just need the legal spelling of your first and last name. So really, really good information there. How's that? How you feeling right now? So the next time you hear, I need to think about it. I need to talk to my spouse. That's more expensive. And look, when someone says, hey, can you email that over to me? What that means is I need to think about it. So again, I need to think about it. Great. Tell me, what is it specifically that you're unsure of? What do you have questions about? So just being genuinely curious is how I'd like to go ahead and end this episode. Remember, when someone gives you an objection, just be curious. So I just gave you multiple ways to overcome this, But that's why I asked the question, like, hey, tell me, what are you unsure of? Like, I'm trying to figure out what questions do they have that I can answer so that I can move them to a yes or a no. What is the reason that they need to think about it? The reason, again, they don't have enough information to make a buying decision. All right, my friends, that is all I have for you today. So I would love for you to take this, run with it, implement it. The next time you hear one of these objections, use it, and then shoot me a text and let me know. 816-727-7610. Let me know. Let me know how it went. Let me know. All right. And while I'm on this, all right, before I end, one last tip. If you, for some reason, can't overcome the objection, you try to overcome the objection, you try to go into the application, you try to get payment information, and they're like, hey, I'm with you, but now I really need to think about it. Or, hey, it's probably going to be a yes, but I really need to talk to my spouse. Great. Set the follow-up time within 48 hours. Okay. Set the follow-up time within 48 hours. The likelihood of you closing the sale after 48 hours decreases significantly. So keep it in your control. Keep the follow-up in your control. Do your due diligence. Try to close the customer a minimum of 3 times. And if you just can't, and there has to be a follow-up, because there will be, follow-up is part of the game in sales. Keep it in your control, 48-hour rule. All right, my friends, if you enjoyed this episode, please give us a 5-star review rating. Let people know about us. That would mean the world to us and help us out in more ways than you know. Other than that, time is the most valuable and important asset that we all have. I appreciate you spending time with me today. Go out and make it great.